Welcome back to the Slay the Spire 2 at home video series where we try to make a homemade version of Slay the Spire 2 one tiny step at a time, just for fun, right? So for today, hopefully we've been getting past our technical issues, right? Because our progress has been, in terms of adding content, has been pretty slow because we've been spending a lot of time kind of putting the building blocks in place. But now hopefully we've done enough of that. We should start adding some more cards and enemies, right? So today let's try to add the Perfected Strike and then the setup strike, right? Just have a couple more cards. Let me fix the tabbing here first. Yeah, okay. So yeah, let's start with Perfected Strike just because that comes in alphabetical order before setup strike, right? So let's do that. So we'll need to make another script for that. Let's go into the Slay the Spire 2 folder, right? Well, no, let's go into the Ironclad folder and then Slay the Spire 2. Yeah, and it's a common. So this will be another card, right? And then we'll call it Perfected Strike .ge. Okay, so we'll give it a class name also. And Perfected Strike, right? And then we'll just copy a lot of the implementation from, I guess, the basic damage cards, right? And then the, well, Apotheosis, I guess, because Perfected Strike, right, when it says for all your cards containing strike, that's all the cards in your draw pile, your discard pile, and your hand, right? So not your deck that you carry between fights, because Perfected Strike, it counts the cards that you add to your, well, add to either your draw pile, hand, or discard mid-fight, right? And then it subtracts based on, cards that get exhausted, right? So it's kind of like Apotheosis that way from the original Slay the Spire, so some of the functionality is the same, right? But yeah, enough about that. Let's kind of just, start copy pasting, right? So we can copy some of these from the basic damage card, right? Yeah, so we'll just kind of put those stubs in there. So Perfected Strike, it's just damage, right? It's 6 damage, right? There's no, the base amount of damage, right, doesn't increase as you upgrade the card. It's only the amount of damage per strike that it gets added, right? So let's edit the script accordingly, right? So it's just that, and then we have bonus per strike unupgraded, right? 2, and then, well, these don't need to be export variables. They can, at least not for now, right? Maybe in the future, if we have other cards that do sort of the same thing, right, we can do that. But yeah, let's just do that. So this will be like this. Okay, so then the tooltip for Perfected Strike will look something like, let's see, so it'll be something like just like this, right? So let's put that in the comment, I guess. Let's just deal percent damage deals, and then this will be like either 2 or 3 depending on whether we're upgraded or not, right? So yeah, let's kind of do this, right? And then like this. And then the updated tooltip. Okay, so this will be, we have to do the thing to actually do the damage calculation, right? So we'll have to add the Perfected Strike specific logic in there. So like we said, it's kind of like Apotheosis, right? We'll kind of do the same sort of stuff. So we'll put in the stubs to just kind of, but instead of upgrading all the cards in our hand, discard and draw pile, right, we're going to be adding like a flat dome damage bonus to the strike, right, damage that before we put it into our attack damage calculator. So yeah, so let's put that in here first. Okay, so how do we want to do this? Maybe we put this first, right? So first we start with damage, right? No, let's do it like this. Let me get rid of this comment. Well, okay, this is, so we're not doing it based on the targets though, right? So we have to get the scene tree somewhere, some other way, because we don't actually have a target yet, right? So maybe we just do it based on the one of the modifiers. So these are nodes, right? We do, yeah. So we can get the scene tree based on the player modifiers, I guess, instead. So the scene tree is to get our hand because we don't have those stored in any global variable. I'll show you what that looks like. So we have scenes, player. So I mean, these modifier handlers are they're nodes, so we can get the scene tree, based on there. So yeah, let's just kind of do this sort of thing, I guess. Yeah. Okay, okay, we've kind of refactored since the last time we touched the apotheosis code, right? So we put the kind of like the cards in kind of a global variable here that we can just access really easily, right? So we're not upgrading the cards. We're checking if it's a strike, and then, so we're doing if card dot id dot contains strike, right? Well, dot to lower, I guess. Something like that. So basically the same thing that happens when if we look into our attack damage calculator. So we go into here, so we have just this sort of logic, right? It's kind of like if you have a strike dummy, we need to know if it's a strike, right? So in the same way, perfected strike needs to know if a card is strike or not, right? And then we do, I mean, I guess we can just keep a running total like that, right? Well, no, we need to do it based on if it's upgraded or not, right? Okay, so maybe we should keep the bonus per strike, right? So let's do that too. So bonus per strike equals, and then so we check if we're upgraded or not, right? So let's initialize this above here. And then we have bonus per strike equals like that. Else. Then yeah, so we'll do this, right? Okay, and then so when we're looping through our cards, like if it's a strike, we'll do kind of, yeah, like this, right? And then we'll do the same thing for our discard pile and our hand, right? So we don't need to do this, right? Yeah, we do that, and then so we're not upgrading the card like Apotheosis. We're doing this. And then also for the hand, right? And so we don't have a variable sort of like this for the hand, so we're just kind of doing the hand that's on the screen. That might be something we need to rethink in the future, but for now we don't need to worry about this. We'll just do it this way. What is it? Okay, so this is like Apotheosis not worrying about upgrading it itself, right? Okay, so this is a problem here, right? So we need to count ourselves when we're dragging the... So I guess we can just... Because the perfected strike, when we drag it out of our hand, it's not going to be in the hand, right? So maybe we have to add another... that's a little janky, I guess. But yeah, maybe we do that for now. This is sort of... This might be something we need to refactor in the future, right? But for now, I guess... maybe rethink this. Seems a bit janky, right? And then this is for, for the perfected strike itself while it is being dragged, right, outside of the hand. And this is a little bit janky. Well, the problem is this is in combat, right? Whether or not we're dragging. This is kind of... Maybe we need to rethink this. Because when it's still in the hand, like, we're not going to want to do this, right? It's only when we're dragging it. Okay, so maybe we need to think about that a bit more. Hold on. So we do need to worry about the self for apotheosis, right? Like apotheosis. Okay, so we don't do this, right? And then so this is for apotheosis when we're upgrading cards. We don't care about that. Apotheosis does upgrade the cards in your exhaust pile. Huh. But I don't. Perfected Strike doesn't add damage for the cards in your exhaust pile, right? So we're not doing that. Okay, so first of all, let's take care of this first. If okay, and then let's see, we're doing so that we don't. Yeah, we've already taken care of the upgrade case here, right? So we just do. Oh no, we need to do. So the perfected strike, the text, the number on the card turns red or green based on just a 6, right? So we need to do that. Oh no, this way. So this is yes. Okay, so we don't have a separate case for upgraded or unupgraded, right? So basically, though, this thing it's just basically comparing two numbers, to do the thing where it changes the number red or green, like to account for vulnerable or weak, that sort of thing. Okay, so here, this is our own, and then, so this we put here, right? Yeah. Okay, so now, okay, we need to worry about the case where we're dragging the perfected strike onto the enemy, right? So that's this thing right here, right? So why don't we do a little bit of a hack, maybe? Okay, maybe rethink this. Like seems janky. Okay, but basically, if enemy modifiers is not null, right? That means we are currently dragging this perfected strike, right, onto that enemy, and then so the number that we're showing on the card will be, dependent on whether or not that enemy is vulnerable, for example, right? But in that case, the perfected strike is being dragged outside of the hand. I mean, in terms of the actual UI of the hand, not like conceptually, like it's, because it's still in your hand until you play it in terms of the card game, right? But I mean, actually at runtime in the program logic, right? So we have this in the battle. Okay, so we've got this thing, and then there's actually a hand VBox container here. Like when you're dragging it, the hand is not visually on the screen. It's not going to be part of this, right? So we need to So if so here, that's where we take care of that case, right? We'll do this thing. So just count self as part of the damage, because because it's a strike, right? Because perfected strike, for all your cards containing strike, it does count itself, right? So this is just to count itself, right? So yeah, let's just put it like this, like count self, right? And then if otherwise, right, so because it'll be in here if the enemy modifiers is null, right? If it's just sitting in our hand. And then so we're not doing anything in terms of enemy vulnerable or things like that. We're just saying like, yeah, so I think we'll do that for now, right? But maybe in the future, maybe we need to do something less janky, right, than that. But that's fine for now. Okay, so we do that, right? So okay, and then the same thing when we're playing the thing. And so in this case, we'll do it, and then we can take into account if in the future we want to have like some sort of AOE perfected strike also, right? But yeah, so we'll kind of do this sort of thing. So we'll have unmodified damage equals damage, right? And so maybe I should be more clear about what we mean by these variables, because this is kind of copied over from previous code, right? We should actually call this unmodified damage. What are we calling it here? Oh, so yeah, we're just, yeah. I mean, we're just, yeah, not being, because this is before we did our attack damage calculator refactor, and these variable, okay, these aren't the most descriptive names, but maybe we need to rethink that in the future also. Yeah, it's fine. We'll just leave it like this for now, and maybe in the future we can, kind of formalize or be more strict about our terminology in terms of what we're naming stuff to ourselves, right? But yeah. All right, so we'll do this sort of thing also. But for now, we don't care too much about what our variables are named, maybe in this sort of thing. But yeah, that might be something to think about in the future also. All right, so we have that sort of thing, right? And then, so we have to do the same thing when we're checking our hand, right? This is a little bit of repeated code also, so maybe that's another thing we need to rethink also. But for now, maybe it's fine. Yeah, that should be fine, right? Okay, so we'll we'll kind of do this thing, right? And then except it's called unmodified damage here, and then the modified is after we have the attack damage calculator thing, right? Yeah, so we're kind of using two different names for like the same thing, and that's not good, right? That's something that we probably need to be more strict about in the future. All right, but it's okay for now. Well, we need to take care of this thing also. So here, yeah, so this thing, when we're dragging it, we're already out of the hand, right? So we don't need to check this. Like, UI outside of the hand or something like that, right? All right, so yeah, we'll do that sort of thing. And then this is the remaining cards in hand. Right? So this is besides the perfected strike being dragged, right? In the hand. Kind of like that. Okay. And then, yeah. And then when we're attacking, right? So I mean, this is always going to be an array of size 1 for a perfected strike as we're currently going to do it, but we're just leaving the possibilities open in case there's an AoE perfected strike in the future, right? So yeah, we have this sort of thing. Yeah, this should be fine, right? And then, yeah, okay, this is pretty bad that we're doing unmodified damage. Yeah, so let's make a note of there here, right? Like, to do, like, figure out what we want to call the damage numbers, like, before feeding into attack damage calculator, right? And after attack damage calculator. Like, is this modified damage or... Because basically, before we feed it into the attack damage calculator, that's just like, before damage calculator, it is just card values, right? Like no weak, no strength, no vulnerable, right? So maybe that should be called unmodified, right? Instead of modified, like right here. Yeah, let's do that, right? We'll just rename these. Okay. That's kind of, yeah. And then we'll do the same thing for our perfected strike. Okay, yeah, let's just be consistent and then... Okay, so that. And then this is more like modified damage, right? Yeah, so this is actually modified damage here, though, right? So it's just that we don't have a... Oh, okay, so we just didn't want to put an extra integer in memory. That's what we did, right? Okay, so here, yeah, we didn't have... Okay, so this is why we... Because here we're not actually doing anything special, right, with the... To calculate the but here we are doing something to calculate what we're looking at before we feed it into a tech damage calculator. Okay. So yeah, this is not good, right? Like maybe it's worth putting an extra integer in memory just to... Or maybe we can just... Yeah, let's just make it more clear, right? Okay, so we'll have this sort of thing. And then this can be... Yeah, like that, right? Okay, so we're unmodified damage. Yeah, let's just be clear. Okay. But this is just to declare it, right? Like, yeah, so we're not actually setting it to 0 here. So yeah, so the unmodified damage is just upgraded, damage or base damage for your basic attack card. And then for Perfected Strike, though, for the unmodified damage, in terms of before strength, before weak, before vulnerable, we need to actually calculate the thing using the Perfected Strike rules, right? So yeah, let's call them like this, right? And then modified damage, we'll just declare an extra variable. It's okay. It's just one integer, right? Okay, yeah, let's do it like that. And then here we're not even holding on to this, right? Because we're not doing a tooltip. We're just putting the number in. Yeah, okay. So that should be fine, right? So that's our perfected strike. And then okay, so let's make the TRES file. And then we'll set up this stuff, right? Okay, so yeah, let's do that. Where did we put? Right here. So this is resource perfected strike, right? And this is perfected strike dot TRES. All right, so the thing is called ironclad. It's perfected strike. It's an attack. It's a common. Single enemy cost 2. Upgraded cost is 2. Don't need this stuff. Okay, so let's... And so as usual, we just downloaded the card images from untapped.gg. We used our little paint.net to crop this part out, and that's this image here. So and then we copied them to our project folder. So let's hold on, wait, yeah. Did I start recording? Yeah. Okay, I didn't mess that up. All right, so let's perfected strike. And then the tooltip text, right? So we have our, that's outside of combat. Maybe I should rename that also in the future, but it's this sort of thing, right? Let's make sure our line breaks in the right spot. No, this should be a 6, and then this should be... that's another thing. Like, do we want both of these to be... Because for the upgraded tooltip text, like yeah, so maybe we should have them both be string parameters, right? Like in terms of... Okay, let's do that. So we'll need to change that, I guess, to in our... All right, so we'll change that here to be like yeah. Yeah, so we have two, string interpolation parameters, and then we'll do the same thing right here. Uh, all right, so yeah, let's do that. Okay, that takes care of that, and then the upgrade preview text, right, where we just have this thing. It's just this, right? We make the 3 green, and then we just have some. All right, deal. I mean, we can even make this a %s also, like just. Do we want to do that, or no? We can just leave it like that, right? And then so then we just use the base class thing where we. But then that's another place we have to change the 6 if we ever change the card, right? I don't know. Well, we can worry about that later. I mean, do we ever overload this in other cards? Not really, right? I would just leave it like that for now then. Okay, that's fine. So that's just something we have to remember if Perfected Strike ever not, ever becomes something that isn't 6 damage base. Okay, so yeah, back to this. So does this look okay? Does 6 damage, 3 additional damage? Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's Perfected Strike, right? So let's add that to our card pool. To the draftable cards, we add our Ironclad Perfected Strike. Right? Then so let's drag that over to the other commons just to keep things organized, right? So we'll put that right here before Pommel Strike. Yeah. Okay, so now we want to do Setup Strike, right? So the first thing we need to do for Setup Strike is we actually have to create the status, right? So that's basically the icon that appears when after you use Setup Strike. And we're not going to care about this linked UI stuff for now. We only care about this thing, right? And then this icon. So let's create that, right? Okay, so if we go into our list of status effects, right? Effects, status effects. Yeah, we'll have a Slay the Spire 2 folder for this, right? Right now we don't have one because this is okay. We'll just add that. All right, so this will be called. This will inherit from the status class, and this will be setup strike status, right? That. And so the implementation, so the way setup strike this works is very similar to how the strength down from flex worked in the original Slay the Spire, which I did actually do before I started making these YouTube videos. So we'll probably end up copying a lot of the stuff from there, right? Just the strength down. Okay, so yeah, this sort of thing. Oh, it's not a debuff, right? Because in Slay the Spire 2, we show different colored. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we show different color backgrounds, right? Which I don't have in this project yet, but this kind of tells that this is considered a debuff. While the setup strike, it has the normal background, which is considered a buff, even though what it's doing for you is bad, right? It's removing the temporary strength gain, but it's not considered a debuff, right? For whatever reason. So that's something that will change from strength down, right? But for the most part, yeah, the implementation for setup strike will be kind of the same thing, right? The tooltip is not going to be exactly the same, right? It'll be like a setup strike, and then it'll have an icon also, right? Like this setup strike icon. So I don't know if I have that comment, and yeah, I just don't have the icon in the comment. Okay, that's fine though. So the text is gain this much strength until the end of the turn, right? Instead of at the end of their turn lose. So they kind of just did it a different way. But yeah, so let's. So I didn't make a note of that, so I'll just type it here. So it's like gain percent. So based on the number of stacks, right? Gain however many stacks strength, right? Until the end of this turn. Well, that's kind of what the tooltip will look like, right? Although the tooltip we're doing it differently now, right? We're having a description tooltip, and then because I never implemented the status tooltip for flex. So let's make sure we do that. Like this, right? Yeah, so we have this is deprecated. Yeah, so we don't actually need get tooltip. Actually, it's the other way. Okay. Well, I should probably put the comment there. Okay, like that, right? And then what else do we need? So we have initialize status. With strength down. Okay. So we're going to have the card actually apply the status, right? The strength status, and then not the setup strike status itself, right? Because this will just remove the strength at the end of the turn, like once, you know. Okay, so we don't need this initialize thing. That's right. Oh, that's how we were doing the strength down before. Also, yeah, I got the strength mixed up. Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the implementation can just be the same, right? And then so we just basically make an instance of negative strength and then apply that, right? Okay. So yeah, that'll be fine. This thing might need to change though because this isn't something that. So we might need to change this part. Okay. Well, no, it should be fine, right? Maybe that's the way we remove it. No, but okay. So in Slay the Spire 2, the setup strike icon disappears before the strength down. I mean, it's not a big deal, but maybe we should be consistent about that. Yeah. So maybe remove this node from parent before applying the negative strength, right? And so the reason this is there is just to remove it. So we might not need this line. Okay. All right, so let's get rid of this comment. So it's debuff. It's not a debuff, right? So we don't need this. So unlike the strength down from original Slay the Spire, the setup strike status is not considered to be a debuff, right? What's the base class thing showing for its debuff? It just returns its debuff. Okay, so we can just set that in the TRES file. That's fine. All right, so we'll have something like that, right? So, okay, so maybe we do need to remove the setup strike from the display before we actually apply the strength down, though. So why don't we, yeah, we do this sort of thing, right? Okay. So we can't do this, huh? Because we're a reference. Oh, okay. So we need to. Because this is just a reference, right? It's not an actual node. It's just. So it's the status UI that can. Okay, so we need to. So let's think about this. We've got a status UI class here, right? And that's the actual node that's in the same tree, right? And it's got a reference to the status, right? And then when we emit status changed, so that's kind of when we're doing here, right? So if it's so that's why we're doing that. Okay. So what's some way we can notify our parent that we need to? I mean, do we really want to be calling Q free before we do this thing though? Like is that dangerous? It might not be, but it kind of doesn't feel correct, right? Because basically we want this to just, the parent to not do the Q free, but then up, yeah. So when we apply the end of turn effect, right? So we want to do this and then Yeah, because we want to, because if we want to remove the setup strike icon first before we, because this will actually make the strength decrement before we tell ourselves that we're being removed, right? This thing doesn't have a reference to the status UI, does it? No, because the status UI is sort of like a parent. I mean, this could be something that we don't care about that much for now, but maybe we do need to think about this, right? Let's think about this for a little bit. Is there some easy way we can make it so that the status icon is removed before we do the strength status effect, right? Do we just want to implement a new interface for that, or because conceptually what we want to do is kind of reverse. We want to do this queue free before the body of this, right? Right now we don't have it set up to do that though. Let's see. Do we want to do a tween or? So if we were to put this behind a tween, right, and then if we start tweening here and then would that delay when this goes through though, or? We can try that. We'll just see how it looks. I don't know exactly how this stuff works in Godot, but so we'll have we want to do the let's just test this out though. I mean, if it doesn't work, maybe it's not the biggest deal, but. Is that how we're doing it here? Oh, we have to do this thing. Okay, so. Uh-oh, where did I put that tween? Did I put it in the wrong place? Oh, shoot, I messed up the old strength down script. Ah. Hold on, I put it in the wrong script. And yeah. Okay, yeah, I shouldn't have been messing with this script. It's supposed to go here. Okay, let me just copy this whole logic. Hold on. I mean, is this something that we need to pass over to the status UI also instead of doing it here? Because what I'm afraid happens is that I tween and then I don't do this, emit before. Or maybe that will work. Let's try it. Okay, so. Alright, so. We don't want to do that, right? This is like 0.1 seconds here, right? And so we want to do. that? Oh, these can't do tweens because it's not. Yeah, it has to be a scene object to do that. Okay, so maybe we just need to create some sort of new interface then for. Okay, so when we. Do we just want to do a quick and dirty way, or do we want to think about this a bit more? We can make some special function that says like after removal or something. Okay, let's just do that then. So we'll have something like a delayed application or something. Well, post removal, or I don't know what we want to call it, like some post. Well, this will be a bit of a hack for now. Post removal effect, right? Just maybe we don't need this, right? Maybe we just save what we're doing. So okay, so we'll just save a reference to the target. Let's see. So we. This is kind of not good. We don't want to call these the same things, right? I don't know. Just save target or something. So we'll move this stuff down into here, right? Right. Oh, so we need to keep track of how many stacks we had before we removed ourselves, though, right? Okay, so let's just do that. Yeah. Okay, so we'll save what we were attached to, which is the player, right? Because yeah, and then when we emit that we're removing ourselves at the end of turn, right? So this doesn't work, right? So we need to call this function this post removal effect, right? I don't know. This is a little bit janky, but yeah, let's just put that in there for now. So here, when we're removing ourselves, right? So right here, this is really bad, but yeah, that might be something we need to rethink and make less janky in the future. So right. Hold on, let me make sure this is how I used the has method function before. So we just, yeah, it's just, you just use a string, right? Okay. And maybe we can even tween this too. Okay, so that way there is a little bit of a delay. We just have this sort of thing, right? Don't need this, don't need this. And then we'll... Okay, like that. And then when we're done tweening, right, after 0.1 seconds, we'll do the thing. So not this, not this, right? Not this. We're doing the post removal effect. Whoops, I just got rid of our opening bracket. what does it look like? No, we don't need it. We don't need a bracket. Okay, we're fine. So we just need to do. Okay, so we'll just apply the. So right now this is for setup strikes, like for setup strike, to visually remove the setup strike status before the strength is granted, right? That's how it works in Slay the Spire 2. Okay, so something like that. And then even if the status doesn't have a post removal effect, we still do this, right? And then yeah, so this is just kind of a bit of a janky sort of hard coding thing, but maybe it's good enough for now. We'll worry about it later. All right. Yeah. Okay. That should work hopefully, right? So let's just go with that. So let's make the setup strike card, right? So we need to make a card just like we did for the perfected strike. So let's go and do. Yeah, go back to that. Oh no, we need to make the TRES file for the status first. Hold on. So yeah, let's do the. No, it's a setup strike status, right? All right, so we do this. So okay, the ID can be called setup strike status, I guess, right? Yeah, I guess end of turn intensity can expire. These I don't even know why these probably don't need to be export variables, right? They can probably be export storage. Maybe we should change that. Why are those even there in the inspector? It's called export storage, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, let's not have unnecessary stuff in our inspector. All right, so these can be. All right, so let's yeah. So let's go into our status effects, right? And then we have that setup strike icon, right? And then the title. Oh, what do they look like? I guess for the other ones we have implemented. I guess I'll just copy the stub from strength. I guess, right? So for strength, what are we doing? We have something like this. So this will be, and then the text is called setup strike, right? And then this is like, so where did we put the icon also? So like here, art battle set status icons sts2 / icon setup strike, and this is probably not the right size or the right exact layout, but it's good enough for now. Setup strike status.png. Okay, so we'll do that. And then the description tooltip was what we were saying was, this thing, right? There's only one period at the end, so we have this deprecated. And this, okay, so we don't need this. So gain strength until the end of this turn. Yeah, one period. Okay, like that. Okay, that's the TRES file. Okay, so now let's make the actual card for setup strike, right? So yeah, so we go into scene. No, not scenes. We go into ironclad cards common, right? So we make the script setup strike, and then this is a. Well, are there any other similar functionalities that we do that do damage and strength? Or temporary? Not really, right? Okay, it can be its own script. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do that. Okay, so yeah, this will be setup strike, the card, right? Do we want to do underscore card to distinguish it, or do we just call it setup strike? Okay, we can call it setup strike card. Well, is that what we do for other things, though? Well, let's just. Huh. What other things do we call underscore status? Like, do we do that for anything else? Frail status. This will take a while to search this way. That's not a. So I mean, do we need to give it like a some way to distinguish it from the the type over there? Well, we can always rename it later. Let's just call it setup strike for now. Because usually when you think of setup strike, you're thinking about the card, not the status, right? So yeah, I'll just do that for now. All right, so we call it setup strike. We won't put the underscore card at the end. All right, so this is setup strike. So this will be setup strike. And then it'll have, some of the same basic, functionality from here, right? So setup strike, what happens is that, yeah, it goes from 7 to 9, and then it goes from 2 to 3 strength. Okay, so yeah, we'll just copy the stub from the basic damage card for now. Here. So we'll change some values, right? This is 7, this is 9. I mean, I guess, we don't need these for now, right? Unless there's something else that implements the same functionality. Okay, and then so we'll have base strength and upgraded strength gain, right? Our temporary strength gain. So that's something that maybe we can copy from the flex card, right? That we had before we started making. Well, it's not strength down, it's setup strike, right? But so we're giving ourselves strength and the setup strike status, right? In terms of that many stacks. So this is like that, right? Okay. And then, so the tooltip has two string interpolation things, right? So we do kind of that thing. And then the same thing for, yeah. Like that. And then the upgrade tooltip, okay, so we want to, yeah, so we're doing this modified damage thing, right? And then if upgraded, we're doing based on the upgraded damage, and then, yeah, so that part can stay the same, right? So okay, so that we'd have that, and then where we're applying our, okay, so this is where we need to change it from the basic, damage card. We need to actually create the setup strike status, right? So we can copy some of that functionality here. Although we don't have a status factor. This is the only thing that, I mean, do we want to put something in status factory for this? Like, I mean, this is like the only thing that makes setup strike status, right? Yeah, so I mean, we probably shouldn't even have this. Well, there was a lot of things in the original Slay the Spire that created this, right? But here for setup strike, we'll just put it in the setup strike script. No, not the status for the card, right? So here, setup strike status, right? And then is equal effects, status effects, STS2 / setup strike status, right? So this is the status we need to apply, right, in equal amounts as the amount of strength that we're applying, so that we can remove the strength at the end of turn. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. And then the damage happens before the temporary strength gain, right? So yeah. And then here, so after we're done hitting our target, right? And then we left some room for, the possibility of having AoE, right? But we're not going to increase temporary strength for every target we hit. We just need to put that at the end here. So sort of like flex, we'll just do this sort of thing. We're not going to use the status factor. We'll just manually create the status, right? Yeah, so we'll just, yeah, create a status manually. So what are we doing when we're creating a status here? So we're doing this sort of thing, right? So let's just copy that. All right, so status effect new, right? So let's give it, okay, we'll call it setup strike status effect, right? Is a new status effect. And then the status will be the setup strike status dot duplicate, right? So strike. And then the amount of stacks is equal to, well, depending on if we're upgraded or not, right? So we're not doing this. So if we're upgraded, setup strike equals else. So we're doing this sort of thing, right? Like that. And then, so we do need to strike status effect dot status equals strike status, right? Okay. So that way we'll apply the bad part, right? Oh yeah, so we need to add the good part too. So we have to actually add the strength as well. Okay, so what's the order that happens in? So in Slay the Spire 2, what happened? The strength is added before the setup strike. Okay, that's the way it works here. Okay, so we could even tween it maybe. No, card can't tween, right? But we don't really care about putting an animation delay for now. That's not important. Like the important thing is that we are doing the order correctly at least, right? Because card is this isn't a scene object either, so we would have to do the same thing where we pass it over to the card UI, I guess, to do some tweening and whatever. But yeah, that's not important. We can still do it in the same order, right, without an animation delay for now. So that's not a priority. Probably will be eventually, right? We'll probably want to do something that, Okay, but let's just make sure we can add strength, and then, as long as adding before the setup strike status, that's all we care about. We don't care about fancy animations and delays for now. Okay, so we'll do just the same thing as the flex, right? So we're kind of doing this sort of thing. Yeah. So in setup strike, we're adding the strength, the temporary strength gain, right? And then it'll be this. Okay, so that's our setup strike status, right? So oh no, we're not doing it to the targets, we're doing it to ourselves, right? Because that's another thing we need to, we don't want to give strength to the things we're attacking. We want to give it to ourselves. So what's another thing where we're giving something to ourselves, right? That's something like dominate or something. So let's copy it from dominate maybe instead of flex. So let's go into our uncommon, dominate, right? So we want to give ourselves the strength, not the, So how are we doing that there? Well, we're doing dominate, we're doing the target. Okay, we're just doing this thing, yeah, that's fine. We can do it that way. Except we only want to do it once, right? Not, maybe that's not the best way. So, yeah, we can do that. We just say that this is at least one target. Or we can even just do it to this also, but I mean, this is also part of the scene, right? Maybe we just do this. That should work, yeah. It's a little bit janky, but sure. I mean, we just need to get the scene tree somehow, and then just, apply the strength. Okay. All right, so that's a setup strike script, right? So now we make the TRES file. Yeah. Yeah, so one thing we might need to think about is, if we want to put animation delays, right, then, how are we going to, do stuff like this, right? So do we need to bubble up to the card UI, right, and do do sort of, signals to say that, oh yeah, you need to call this, after this amount of time or what, right? Maybe we do need to do something like that. I don't know. That's something, that'll probably take me a while to figure out in the future. Because apparently you can't create tweens, like if something's not part of the scene tree, right? Like, yeah, because that's called on self, and you have to do it on a node. Yeah, okay, but for now, yeah, it's okay that we can just do it in order, um, instantly, right? Okay, so what else? Oh yeah, we were creating the TRES file. So yeah, let's just create our setup strike TRES. And for now, we just call it setup strike, and we can worry about whether it needs like an underscore card, later, right? Okay, setup strike. Oop. It's important that we spell it right, otherwise we're not going to get the bonus from pommel strike, right? So we do need to make sure this strike is spelled right. Uh, okay, so this is common, single enemy, cost 1, upgraded cost 1. And then, yeah, we get the setup strike icon. Ironclad cards. Okay. And then the tooltip text is what, yeah, we were saying is just this, right? Yeah. So let's just make sure the line breaks are in the right place. And then that's what the tooltip looks like, right? Yeah, okay. And then it's just, it should be 9 when it's upgraded, right? Okay. Hopefully that's accurate too. I haven't actually taken setup strike when playing Slay the Spire 2 in a while, so maybe I need to refresh my memory on that. But yeah, hopefully this website is correct, right? This is supposed to be a reputable website, I hope, right? I mean, I guess I could double check on to see if the wiki has the same thing, right? Make sure it's 7 and 9. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that should be correct. We checked it on 2 different websites. The internet doesn't lie twice in a row, right? All right, so we'll do that. Okay. So that's setup strike, and then we add that to our list of draftable cards also, right? Hold on, let me close all these folders. This is kind of cluttering things up. Yeah, the Slay the Spire 2 Ironclad draftable cards. So we need to add the setup strike. No. Setup strike, okay. And then we'll move that to the common section right here. Okay. And then to test this stuff, right, we'll just cheat them into our deck as usual, and then, we'll just make sure the basic functionality works, right? And then we might run into bugs and crashes, right? But hopefully there'll be some obvious stuff that we can fix very quickly. Yeah, so let's open up run.gd and change the part where we, cheat stuff in to the start of the run for testing purposes. All right, so cheat. Okay, so we don't need to test the oddly smooth stone, right? So let's just do this, and then so this will be, we'll just do so a perfected strike, right? Uh-oh. And then we'll also do the setup strike. Yeah, okay, so let's make sure they work. And this stuff is just while we were typing, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, so let's see. Uh-oh. What did we do? Cannot resolve external. Uh-oh, yeah, because we've got a circular dependency here. What did we do? Status UI. Cannot resolve external class member. So basically what we did was that We introduced a circular dependency somewhere. I forgot what we. Because setup strike is referencing setup strike status, right? And then well, this is a card, and then that. So maybe we do need to move it into the status factory, right? Okay, wait, what was causing the circular dependency to begin with? I should refresh my memory on that. I know I've run into this problem before. Okay, so there's a compile time dependency where cards, potions had compile time dependencies on run, and run is preloading. Oh, so yeah, we're preloading. Okay, so we're in our testing we added a circular dependency here. Is that so setup? No. Is it something to do with what we did here? And then setup strike status, what does that reference? That doesn't reference anything. Oh, that. I should think about what exactly I did here. So the curse pool. And let me reload the project just to see like the order of things. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I just introduced a circular dependency somewhere. All right, here. So failed to compile dependent scripts. Failed to compile dependent scripts. Shame. The shame got a parse error. Huh. Or maybe this is something that was already in and I just didn't notice it before. Oh, because I was messing around with the strength down status, is that? And I accidentally touched it before. Because I changed it to use a status factory, is that? So the shame card is... Is it anything to do with the shame card or... Frail instance. So the curse pool has... What's in our curse pool? It's been a while since I ran into this problem. I know I've run into this before. So we have the curse pool is clumsy, injury, shame, and then that's... Yeah, so the problem is probably is that it's in the constants, right? Constants. Because run has a dependency, something has a dependency on constants that we just added, right? Oh, because we put constants.animation time in the setups, in the script for the status UI. So we added a dependency on constants in status UI, right? So yeah, let's just move curse pool out of the constants. Okay, that's, yeah, like we did for the other thing, right? So that should fix the circular dependency. All right. So this probably shouldn't be in here, right? So we will move it into global like we did before for other stuff before I started making YouTube videos. Yeah, so let's just, yeah. So this will be curse pool, right? And then we'll just, yeah, move that into global, so we're not having a circular dependency. Yeah, let's move that here, right? All right, so let's, and then where we set that, we'll just do the same thing, right? And okay, and now we reload the project, right? And then, all right, so another thing is like, well, maybe I shouldn't put a dependency on constants in status UI. Maybe that's not good to put there. This thing. So I'll put a note there, like think if status UI should have a dependency on constants, right? Okay, so now can we cannot find member curse pool. Oh, not constants. We're just doing our curse pool that's here now, right? That's. Oh shoot, no, we moved. Okay, so we need to refactor everything that. All right, so this is global.curse pool now, not constants.curse pool, right? It's not called. Did we not call it all caps curse pool? Yeah, we called it under. Okay, it's lowercase curse pool. Freaking okay. So we do need to refactor that, right? No, let's just search for everywhere we have curse pool. So now it should no longer be in constants. We're just saying global.curse pool, right? Okay. Yeah, okay, that should fix that. All right, reload. Okay, so now we should be able to test. All right. That might have been something, yeah. So we had a little bit of a hiccup there, but yeah, at least we ran into that problem before, so we knew how to address it. So we've got our setup strike and perfected strike that we cheated into our deck, right? And now we just need to test those. Yeah, this looks fine, right? Well, at least for now. I mean, the exact proportions, we don't care about that right now. Okay, so let's just start testing. So we need to get to a camp to test the upgrade text and just test basic functionality. Uh-oh, this isn't right. Like, deal percent S damage, deal percent S strength this turn, right? That's not, the tooltip is not correct. What do we do? Oh, we probably didn't put enough string interpolation parameters in our TRES file. That's probably what happened there, right? I probably put a typo in there somewhere. All right, so we've got a couple there, right? The upgraded to, oh yeah, we didn't fix this. Okay, so we need to, so we fixed it for the out of combat, but we didn't fix it for the in combat. That's okay. We didn't fill in both values, right? And then so, yep, okay. Yeah, let's try that again. Maybe we even get a pomander so we can test the upgrade text like more easily. No pomander. Okay, so let's just fight our way to a camp, right? And then just, yeah, just test out the stuff on the way. All right. All right, we've got a perfected strike. Uh-oh, that's not right, right? We're not doing 20 additional damage for all your cards containing strike. We're doing... So we got the numbers messed up, right? Oh, this isn't right either. Hold on. So we've got... So yeah, the first number is the damage we're doing, right? Not the second number. Okay, so that needs to change, right? The second number is the damage bonus per, yeah, is the bonus per strike. So okay, so that we made a little bug there. So let's fix that. Okay, so that needs to change. And then what happened with our setup strike? Like we messed that up too, right? 7 strength this turn. That's not right. It's 2 strength this turn. How do we mess that up? Uh, oh, we just okay. Yeah, we yeah, we didn't do this right. We just used the wrong functions, right? So it should be like something like this, and then all right. So we just yeah, we're just making typos, stupid errors, right? Because yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's try that again, right? This isn't right. All right, so we'll just take. Maybe I should have taken ultimate strike because that counts as a strike, right? And that can affect the perfected strike. All right, so let's do this. Okay, so perfected strike is showing 20, right? Is that correct? So we have 5, 6, 7 strikes, right? So we should expect, yeah, 20 is correct, right? But when it's vulnerable, it should do 30, right? So when we drag this onto here, it should show 30. Yeah, that is correct, right? So the unupgraded, yeah, that looks fine, right? I mean, we're not worried about the font size and fitting everything perfectly right now, right? That's fine. Okay, so setup strike, we need to make sure that we're gaining the right buffs, right? And then also it should be 10 when we, hover over the enemy, right? Yeah, okay, so we got that. Oh, we didn't get the setup strike buff. That's a problem, right? We only got the strength. So what happened there? Something else got messed up, right? Okay, what happened? So something went wrong with our setup strike status. Let's just make sure we set everything up correctly in terms of our... what did we mess up this time? Oh, yeah. So we executed setup strike on the target and not us, right? So yeah, we're not supposed to do that. It's the stupid... The fuzzy worm crawler got the setup strike status, and we're kind of cheating, and it's going to lose this turn. No, it's us that needs to get the setup. Oh, what's this? What's going on here? Resource file not found. Oh, the icon. Oh, I put the path wrong in the TRS file probably. Uh, art battle status. Hold on. What's the actual path? Status icons. STS2. Oh, okay. I didn't put the. Okay, let's rename that. This is supposed to have icon in the name, right? Icon. Yeah. Okay. And maybe I should go to our reference file too that I have in our kind of episode planning thing and just fix that there. All right, so we got some more minor bugs, right? Okay, so let's fix the thing where we put the setup strike part on the enemy instead of ourselves, right? So we need to do this thing again. Okay. So yeah, we fixed it for the strength, but we didn't fix it for the setup strike, right? Well, I don't know why we didn't do that at the same time. We just forgot. Okay, so let's try this again, right? And hopefully it works this time. So, all right, let's get ultimate strike, right? So just make sure that our strike is, perfected strike is properly taking that into account. Okay, so let's make sure setup strike works, right? Okay, so now we got our 2 strength and our 2 setup strike, right? That looks right? Yeah. And so now we properly have the strength, until the end of turn, right? So we're doing 8 instead of the 6. That looks right also. Okay, so now at the end of turn, we should expect that the setup strike, goes away, and then the strength goes away, right? Uh-oh, the strength didn't go away. So something went wrong in terms of when our little trick to make the strength go away didn't work, right? What happened? So if we go into our setup strike status, we didn't hit this post removal effect, right? So did we not? What did we do? Did we misspell post removal effect? No, that looks right, right? We don't have to put the brackets, right? Like, no. No. So what went wrong? So the status is intensity and the stacks is 0, right? Because we did that, but for some reason we didn't get here. Is that? Status. So it is intensity stacking, right? Yeah. And then, so, we did get to here, but we didn't get here, right? Did we skip that? Well, let's just run it again. Let's see what happens, like, just with the breakpoints. So set up strike, right? See what happens at the end of turn. Okay, so we got here, right? We started creating the tween. No, we did do this, right? And did we ever hit this? Oh, no. Tween dot finished. Oh, does this prevent the tween from finishing? Is that? Maybe that's the problem. Okay, so this becomes invalid, right? So we need to deparent it and then not do the queue free, right? All right, so here let's separate this out. So we do else. I mean, if we're only worried about the order, we don't need this tween. But now this is kind of, you know, I kind of want to get this to work now that I've already put so much work into it, right? So let's see. So we deparent it here, right? And then we do that, and then after that we free it. Yeah, that's probably what. Okay, let's try this again. All right, let's see if that works. All right, so let's just fight our way to a camp again. Okay, we got a 20 damage perfected strike because we have 7 strikes, right? That looks right. Okay, so let's just make sure the setup strike works. Okay, so let's just kind of make sure we lose our strength. Yeah. Oh, I still have the breakpoint? Oh, cannot remove child on the null value. What? So the parent is null? But the status should be inside the status handler, right? What? Hold on. What am I doing here? What's our remote scene tree look like? Maybe this is... Wait, what? Get parent is null? Am I using that anywhere else? Is there something especially? No. I'm not using this anywhere else, right? This is kind of... So maybe there's something else that has to do if it, you know, if it's not assigned or... So when the status handler adds status, right, does that assign the parent? Hold on. So when you do add child, right, like this should assign the parent, you would think, right? No, child nodes are automatically use remove child. This doesn't say it necessarily adds the parent though, right? If the node already has a parent, this method will fail. Use remove child. Okay, no, so this should have a parent then. What? Then why is this kind of failing? Cannot. Really? Is there any way? Okay, so here. Although I don't think you can see the parent here, though, right? Like, yeah, it's supposed to just. Why is this? Did we already deparent it somewhere? No, right? So return. So I don't think I have can expire set to true, right? That's only for duration, or? No, that's not on. Huh. The parent node should be this, though. I mean, it's right here, right? Self is 607716. Oh no, this is different. So this one is. Oh, so this is the strength. So we've already. This is the strength. Okay, so the setup strike status is already gone here. Oh, are we deleting ourselves when we're setting it to 0? Hold on. No, we're just doing status change, right? So how did we get deleted already before we even did this? Oh, this has also got copied from the strength down, which I accidentally changed before. Hold on. Strength down. This belonged in here, right? Yeah. Okay, so setup strike status is so somehow we were getting removed already. So what happened when we got into here? So something before that got screwed up, right? Well, let's play with the setup strike a bit. See what exactly is going on. We messed something up. Okay, so here. Hold on. I should probably get rid of this debug statement also. Let's print. need to get rid of this. All right, so, okay, debugger, what happened here? So what's the call? Is it not showing what happened before? Why doesn't this show the call stat? Maybe I just need to put it in here then. So we're doing because we've got signal connections. All right, so we need to go into our status handler then and see what exactly we're doing here. Return. So we're tweening here, and then, I mean, that shouldn't. So what does a remote scene tree look like here? So here we've already started freeing ourselves, right? That's kind of the problem. So it's already invalid. So somehow we already deleted ourselves, right? Why is that? I thought we were deleting ourselves here, though. Did we hit this for some reason? No, we shouldn't, right? It's did we do something that when we oh, so we already did it here. Okay, so we already started deleting we emitted this function for when we set the stacks to 0. Okay, so yeah, we didn't account for that. So basically, when we set our stacks to 0, we already triggered a delete, right? And then we're not doing our okay, so we need to not do that then. So this is where we're because before we always just deleted our statuses instantly whenever the stacks like reached 0, right? Okay, so we need to not in this. Yeah, because in when we're setting our stacks, right, we're emitting this, and then that triggers the thing early before we ever applied the status. Like, okay, so how do we do that? So we want to just not delete it if it has the post. If we have the post, all right. Yeah, because when we, okay, so let's think about what's happening here. So when we go in and set the stacks to 0, right? That does this, and then that goes here, and then in here we do this, right? And then, no, but that's already when we're in the apply thing, right? No, that's not the problem, is it? Because this should be the first time we... Okay, let's put a breakpoint there and see what our remote scene tree looks like at that point. All right. So, okay, so... Okay, that's just when we're setting the stacks to 2 to begin with, right? Okay. And then, okay, so we're setting it to 0. And then the remote scene tree... So are we already like? I mean, are we already queued for deletion here? Is this what this means? Or maybe I'm misinterpreting what this. Oh no, so at doesn't mean that it's necessarily being deleted. Okay, so that should be fine, right? Why is it getting set twice? Did we do something weird in our status script? I mean, do we hit this multiple times for some reason? Why is my hotkey not working for advancing the? Oh, is this null thing? Okay, so somehow we're already null here, right? Yeah, so somewhere I it does seem like it is getting deleted. So is there something? Oops. Something I forgot I was doing maybe, or oh, this is a strength. Why do I keep opening this? All right, so status UI. Post removal effect. So when we're applying the end of turn statuses, right? So maybe I should put. So this is here, right? That's after. Okay, so we do this, and then we go into here. Wait, no. So what is happening to the statuses then? Like status type. Okay, so this is a status handler, and then we're return. So we're going through all the statuses. So what is this return? Okay, so we're just doing the statuses and not doing the actual children, right? Okay, so we're getting the statuses that are under the status handler. Queues. Then we're calling apply status for all of them, right? And then so that's just this apply stat. So why is this? Why is this being queued for deletion at this point? Just from our setting our oh, so we double emitted this signal also. So because this is already emits a signal, right? So that's so we double emitted the signal, right? That's maybe another problem. So that's yeah, that's not good. We shouldn't be manually emitting the signal here, right? That's okay. Let's see. So why were we doing that for strength down also? Is that were we doing that for strength down? I guess we were. So this. All right. So yeah. Okay. So this emits a signal by itself, right? Because we already have this here. So that could be a problem, right? So we were probably, okay, yeah. So that is probably because we were double emitting the signal. Because then when we go into the status handler, right, we could do this, or the status UI rather. So yeah, this connected to, and then we did, okay, so for the second one, yeah. Okay, so we freed ourselves from the first one, then we emitted the signal again, and then we got the null thing here for the parent. Okay, so now hopefully, yeah, that fixes that problem, right? Freaking. Okay, so yeah. Okay, let's get to a camp and then make. Okay, does the setup strike work this time, right? Oh, now I need to get rid of the breakpoint so I don't mess up the execution of our program, right? All right, so now, yeah, another breakpoint. Okay, no, we still didn't remove the strength, right? Well, that could just be because we are messing up the tween so much with the breakpoints. Hold on, let me. Get rid of some of these breakpoints, yeah. We might have just been messing up the tweening with. Okay, so now does setup strike work? Hold on, I'm not getting the setup strike. Okay, so setup strike. No, we still didn't remove the strength, right? So what happened? So we didn't do this time, right? Move child. Oh, because we removed the... We removed ourselves, so now we can't... We're not in the scene tree, so we can't actually do this, right? So tweening only works if you're in the scene tree, is that... So do we just need to become invisible and not just remove ourselves? Like, that looks a little bit weird too, though, right? It should be fine, though, right? Okay. So let's just say... So we just make ourselves invisible, and then that'll be our way of... And then that should adjust the VBox container anyway, or the HBox container, right? And then, so it should be fine. It would be, yeah. Okay, let's see all that. You can tell I'm not very familiar with Godot, right? With how this is going. All right, so we can get our freaking setup strike to work, right? Okay, so now, no, we still didn't. What? Did I mess up the... Hold on. So maybe this would have worked. Hold on. What? So do we need to hide or do we need to... So we stopped double emitting the signal, right? Like, is that... But now did we not emit the signal in the first place? Is that like... Did we think we were double emitting and now we're not emitting at all? Because I thought when we set the stacks here, we're already doing this, right? Status change. And then when we should be... Okay, let's put the breakpoints back. Maybe something was weird's going on. Okay, so we do this, right? We set the stacks to 0. Okay, we do get here, right? We remove ourselves and then we start tweening, we tween interval. This is 0.1, right? And then we never hit the tween finish, right? So this is a problem, right? So something... So do we have to be in the scene tree to tween, right? Is that... Do we have to be visible to tween also? So what if we change this to hide, right? And then does that also prevent us from the tween from working? Like, what exactly is the condition for the tween to be able to work, I guess, is the question here. All right, so we do that, right? We hide, we tween, then we never get into, okay. Oh, it's because we queue free, right? Is that? Well, no, we should be doing, we're just never getting into tween.finish to begin with, right? Well, let's Google that. Oh, maybe we need to await. Or how did I do it before? So we create tween. Dot connect. Hmm. Hmm. So why does that work here and then the tween dot? Hmm. Do we need to tween? Is this? Well. Oh, maybe this isn't. Maybe we don't hit the breakpoint here, but we're supposed to hit it here, though, right? Unless we have to do something different to bind to the... No, we should just be able to pass an object reference, right? Huh. Oh yeah, I should... Do I need to add a tween callback? Is that... That's too different. Use the finish one. Do we want to use tween callback instead of tween.finished? Oh, okay, so we... It's underscore. What's the intended usage? Callback. So, okay, so for some reason this connecting thing isn't working, right? Is it because we're going out of scope, like? Right after the animation concludes. Huh. Status. Set up strike status. Never. So we never. Let's see. Do I just have to use a tween callback or? Is this, are you allowed to do this, I guess? Should be fine, right? .finish.connect. So what circumstances do the tween becomes invalid? Hold on. Tween. So I have a lambda function here, right? So it's probably this going out of scope, right? Always use create chain from inside the target node so its life cycle is tied to the node. Start connect. So does this not work if we leave the scope before the tween finishes firing, I guess is. Oh, I can test the card upgrade tool. Okay, that looks fine, right? Yeah, that looks okay. So that takes care of that. But I need to get the setup strike working though. This is not good. All right, so let's try this again. Okay, so we set the stacks, right? We enter here. Oh no, so we do get into here, right? So that's not the problem. So we are finishing the tween. Then what's so are we just not applying the status correctly? So we're creating a strength instance of negative stacks, right? And then the save target is null. Null. No, right now it has a reference, right? That's just showing from. Yeah, current values. So are we even applying the strength to the right thing, I guess, is. What exactly is in here? Okay, so the save target is 5143055. Uh, what's the best way to debug this? So, save target. Okay, so that's this, right? So yeah, it is the right thing, right? So we are applying. Let me go back to where we were. Okay, so when we're going here. Okay, so we're doing this, right? So we. It's being messed up, right? Oh no, right here. Okay, so we do set the new duration of the strength, right? Is that what happened here? No, okay, so this still didn't work, right? So something went wrong with, okay. So we did finish the tween, though. It's just that when we did this, right, it didn't work. So when we apply, is it a problem with the way we're applying a negative strength status? Okay, so when we're applying negative strength to a target that already has strength. So let's make sure we're doing that correctly. Okay, so yeah, we should be adding negative, you know. Are we just not updating the display properly? So no, so we're setting the stacks, right? And then we set the stacks. So that should emit status change, right? And then on status change. Oh, so we go into here and then, okay, so we should go into here, right? For the strength, because the strength doesn't have a post removal effect, right? Yeah, because here we're supposed to be hitting this, right? And then. So why didn't that work? Okay, so let's. Okay, so try that again. All right, so here. Okay, so oh, we don't need this, right? We did mesh, unless it's only getting there because of the breakpoints we have. No, so we are getting there, right? It's just that, okay, so we never hit the part where we're removing the strength status after it's the stacks is supposed to hit 0, right? So why did we not do that? Status changed. So we never hit this for the strength status, right? So we did. Let's put more breakpoints, I guess. So we're doing here, right? I mean, more print statements, rather. So no, we need to. No, this is for every status, so right. Let's put. And then, okay, so then after that, right, we go into here. We're supposed to go into here. The status handler, and then we're supposed to get into here, right? And then, okay, so then we're supposed to go into here, right? Set status. So let's put another. Then we're supposed to go into here. And then get into the part where we status. Where we go into here, right? But that didn't happen for some reason, right? Okay, so let's. Okay, so we're doing this. Are we? We might be emitting the stacks more too often, or. Well, let's see what happens when we in turn. So new stacks equals 2, status.stacks equals 0. What? Stacking stackable stat. Hold on. So we go into here, right, and then new stacks. So we stacking stackable status, right, and then new stacks 2, not -2. Status.stacks. This isn't right, is it? Wait, plus equal, wait. Oh. So we've got a status here, and then we're... Okay, so this is a reference to the existing status, right? And then we... Okay. So this is 0 and not -2. Well, but new stacks is status. New stacks. So we set stacks to 2 and not 0. Hold up. Wait. So we didn't apply negative strength correctly, right? How did this strength status negative stacks? No, save stacks is 2. Oh, shoot. So yeah, I put the wrong thing there, right? That's why. So yeah, we instantiated with the wrong value. We did the default value in the base class, like, you know, just it's just a typo, right? We use this default value of stacks when we instantiated the negative strength instead of using the value we actually okay, now we should be fine, right? Freaking okay, that was such a stupid mistake. Okay, but now we should be where we're supposed to be, right? And then the stupid setup strike, you know, will actually work now in terms of removing the strength at the end of the turn. All right, so now we... Oh, this isn't good though. We didn't update our tooltip for perfected strike. We gained the strength, but we didn't... Oh no, now we do. It's too late now though, right? So we need to... Okay, that's another problem. Okay, so now let me get rid of these breakpoints. So this should actually remove this. Okay, so now we're removing the strength, right? So the problem is now that when we added our strength, we also didn't update the tooltip, right? Of all the cards in hand. So was that working for everything else? It was working for these, right? So why didn't it work for perfected? So what exactly are we doing to update the tooltips? Hold on. Okay, so when we strength, right? We're getting on status change. So we're changing the strength modifier, right? New value damage dot modifier dot. Player modifier change was emitted, right? And then what's supposed to happen there? Update card text. What are we doing here? Updated card text equals card.getUpdated tooltip. Enemy modifier. Oh, that okay. So we're sharing the enemy modifiers between cards, right? So when we hit an enemy with setup strike, we're passing in the wrong. We're passing in the enemy modifiers of the enemy we just hit with the setup strike. Is that? No, but then why doesn't it work for the strike? Why doesn't that mess up the strike then? No, that's not the problem, is it? Okay, what are we doing here? So for strike, we're doing the... For strike, we're doing the basic card damage card, right? So hold on. So if I go into cards, shared cards. So we're doing this thing, right? But we should be doing basically the same thing when we're... Oh, because we're in the hand with enemy... No. Yeah, so we are passing in the wrong thing, right? Because we're sharing the... Okay. That's a problem. All right, so we're... So we are passing in the enemy modifiers of the thing that we just... So we shouldn't be doing that. When we... Okay. So when we gain strength, right? Like, we need to be passing in null for those modifiers, right? So update card text, we're using this for when we're dragging the card and when we're updating the card text when we're dragging a card onto the enemy. Is that... Yeah. So that's a bit of a problem. Okay, we need to not do that. Or at least parameterize it so we're not, you know... Okay, so why is it that we even have the enemy modifier handlers also? Like, I mean the enemy modifiers after we hit the enemy, because that's the last thing we drag the thing into, right? Changed. Update card text. Wait, well, what are we even doing for this get active enemy? For card. No, because... No, the perfected strike in your hand shouldn't be giving a... Target is empty. Or if target size is greater than 1. Oh, targets. What's targets here? Is that... So, I mean, so are we... Yeah, so we are doing that for every card. Okay, so because we have this card aim thing in our global event bus, so whenever we drag any card, like that's changing the target. Okay, so we need to not do that. That's really bad. But we do need to keep track of when the other cards are being dragged, right? Because we need to disable like our card being dragged. Okay. No, wait, no, this is only for the drop. No, so if we're not dragging the card, it shouldn't... No, that shouldn't be the problem, right? What the heck? We shouldn't be getting anything for a perfected strike here, right? Let's add more of those cards in our deck just to make sure, to make it easier to test. More perfected strikes, and then more setup strike, right? Or we just add more setup strike. Okay. Just to make it easier to test. Or just add a bunch of setup strike. We can just, maybe we just add more of both, I guess. No, perfected strike will be doing lots of damage, but the main thing is we want to make sure that when we're hitting something a setup strike, it's not messing up the perfected strike tooltip, right? Okay, so right now it's 32, right? Because we put so many strikes in it, 5, 10, 13. Yeah, so but when we hit something with setup strike, right? It's not going up, right? Because we're messing up our tooltip. It is going up for strike, but it is not going up for perfected strike until we actually click it, and then we put it back into our hand, right? It's getting messed up. Probably because we're... Okay, so what exactly are we doing here? So because we're enemy modifiers are not null because they're somehow getting shared between cards, right? It's supposed to be null, right? But and then in perfected strike, that's strike is null. So it's supposed to be in the hand, right? And then we... So if enemy... Oh, because okay, the setup strike that we played is not being counted, right? Because that's the problem. So it's not that the enemy modifiers is null. It's when we're playing the setup strike that we're not counting the setup strike that's not in our hand, right? Because we're only counting what's visually in the hand, and then maybe we need to synchronize the display. Yeah, because the setup strike is in the hand is not being counted. I mean, yeah, because it's not it's not in the draw pile, it's not in the discard pile, and it's not in that hand, the anymore because we dragged it out and played it on the enemy. So then it didn't get counted by the perfected strike when it was recalculating the tooltip, right? But then after the setup strike reached the discard pile, it starts getting counted, and so we okay. So we need to address that somehow. All right. So what is going on here? Okay. So well, I know what's going on. It's just how do we fix it, right? So perfected strike needs to consider the card that just got played, right? Okay, so where are we playing our card? Hold on, let's... So in card UI, right? So we're... So when we release the card... Play, so we do the card.play here, right? So maybe we just need to keep track of like what's currently being played, and then just... Okay, so we do the card effects, right? That's doing the strength effect. And then as a result of that, perfected strike, right? It's calculating the amount of damage, but the setup strike is not anywhere where the perfected strike is counting because it's not in the hand anymore, right? So do we just need to like have some sort of variable that keeps track of the card currently being played? Is that how we're gonna fix this for now, or like just some kind of janky way? So the question is, do we want to have some way of synchronizing like what's in the hand, like, and then with the actual, the UI element, or do we just keep track of, the card that's currently being played? And then maybe that would be a way of refactoring the perfected strike, the thing also. That's kind of. And then what puts it in the discard pile after it gets played? I guess like we need to. So when we do card.play, right? We do that. We apply the effects, and then we card.play.emit, right? And then on card played. But basically, we don't add it to the discard pile until it actually finishes getting played, right? It's kind of the problem. Because then, yeah, and then, hold on, this is bigger. Wait. What's adding it to the discard pile? Let's think about that. So if we go into the... Because we do want to make sure that we're not adding the card to the discard pile until after the effects go through. That's correct, right? We just... So maybe we just need to store in memory like what card, a reference to what card is currently being played. Is that just... Yeah, because then we add it to the discard pile after the effects go through, right? Okay, so let's just do that. So we'll just say... We'll just put like a... var. I don't know. Card being played. Card, right? And then... And then so when we're playing the card, right, we'll just say like... Like that. And then when we... So does Apotheosis upgrade itself when it's being played? Like... It doesn't, does it? Right. So that's a special case. Okay, but perfected strike, yeah, we do need to. Okay. Yeah, I guess we just do it like that. Okay, so if global being played and global dot. Okay, so we do that. So what if perfected strike is the card being played though? So we need to not do this right anymore. Because now, yeah, so this will count perfected strike, the perfected strike that's being played, right? Okay. Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that should fix that. Okay. So let's go back and test that. Okay, so now when we set up strike, it should update the perfected strike, damage correctly, right? Yeah, okay, we did that, right? Okay, so now let's get rid of the cheating cards and let's get rid of these print statements, Okay, this is pretty fail, right? But we did figure out what was going on. So where else are we? Just get rid of... Oh, no, we do want that. Oh, now I just accidentally got rid of some of the print statements that were supposed to be in. Yeah, I'm overdoing it when I'm removing the print statements that are... I mean, we could just get rid of the print statements as we see them, I guess. Okay, but for now, let's just, okay, let's stop doing this, right? And then, so now things are working, right? We just need to make sure that perfected strike has the correct amount of damage, like just because we changed the logic, right? So let's just go. So now we only cheated in a perfected strike, and then we need to. All right, so perfected strike should be showing 18, right? Yeah. So that's 7, 4, wait, 5, 6, yeah, six strikes, right? And then yeah. Okay, and then yeah, that's fine, right? And then if it's vulnerable, do more. But uh-oh, that's not right. It shouldn't go to 16 when we start dragging it. So I thought that logic was supposed to be fixed by this. So are we updating? So the card being played, it's not being updated fast enough before we do this, right? Because we're not doing it while we're. So we need to do it. We need to set that when we start dragging the card, not when we start playing the card. Right. Because right now, well, yeah. So we need to do it here. Okay. And then not where we had it in the. Okay. Not here. This is too late, right? So basically, card being played is what, even before you played it, we need to say that, yeah, that's. Okay, so we do this, right? 24, and then, so yeah, it should be the same. Uh-oh. What? Oh, so when we release the card, we need to set that back to null, right? That's the problem. So, okay. So, yeah, this is just, yeah, we're just. So something like this, right? Card amended. Or we released. Is this where we... Is this the event where we did the release logic? Okay, we're right here, right? Input, right mouse, and then retransitioning. Okay. Yeah, so right here we need to say that maybe we need to rethink this logic in the future, right? Because this is kind of, yeah, getting a little bit messy. Okay, but yeah, so we should, yeah, okay, that fixes the perfected strike, right? Okay, yeah, we ran into quite a few bugs of our own making with this, but I think we're good now, right? All right, so maybe I should, yeah, just see, go back and see where we added with that. Make sure we got rid of the print statements that we added last time. Or I mean, just now, right? To debug the setup strike perfected strike issue. This stuff, right? We need to, yeah. Get rid of this. Okay, and then what's this? Oh, okay, we don't, yeah, okay. But yeah, we're finally where we wanted to be. I think we've got this silly thing with card being played, right? But so let's check this real quick. Okay, so we do want to make sure that we. Okay, so this is after it's reparented, right? So when we right click, right, we go back to the card goes back to the hand, and then we do this, and then we do card, and then we update the tooltips again, like on card aim ended, right? Because when we do the, so that sequence is correct, right? And then so we. Well, so right now we're not updating the card text on card aim ended, right? But yeah, that should fine. It's just that we need to not. Are we? No, we were, right? Because that's why we had the problem to begin with. When are we doing update card text? Hold on. Oh, right here. Okay, we're doing it in, no, not there. Update all card. Oh, we might be doing this thing also. GT. No, that's not what we're doing. Oh, so when we added the thing back to the hand, is that... So when it gets reparented is... Oh, right here. Okay. And then when we do this... No, this doesn't update the text though, right? Oh, here's the reparent requested, and then we... That doesn't update the text either. So why were we updating the text before? Hold on. So right here, right? So okay, so we're just doing it when we... No, not there. No. Right here. Okay, so when we go back to the base state, we're updating the card text again. That's what was happening. Okay. And then so when we're doing this, we need this to be before we enter the base state again. Is that? This guy yourself. So then we're calling this, right? So this exit happens before transition requested. So in our state machine, we're so do we call the exit function before we do the enter for the base state? Just making sure. It looked like it was working. I'm just checking just to be sure, right? So what are we doing with the signal there? Here we go. New state. Yeah, okay. So we are doing the exit before we... So this okay, so for when we stop dragging, you know, aiming a card, right? In the exit function of the card dragging state, we set global.currently or the aiming state, yeah. Oh, so do we also need to do it for the dragging state? Yeah, maybe we do. Couldn't hurt, right? State. Okay, dragging aiming states. So yeah, we do need to add this to the dragging state also, otherwise, right? Because if we don't have that, if we drag a perfected strike without targeting anything, wait, what's the difference between? Oh yeah, because the aiming state is only when we... Wait, what's the difference between the dragging and the aiming state here? Put a single target in. Yeah, okay, so it's basically when we release the button. Mouse motion. So we're testing to make sure we didn't release on anything, right? So, okay, oops. So if I drag a perfected strike without targeting anything, right? If I just go like this and then release it, okay, that's fine, right? So that didn't mess up, is that? Why was that? Because, okay. So it's not called currently played card, is it? Card being played. So the problem before was that, okay, so when we were setting this when we targeted an enemy, right? And then that was adding an extra number. Okay, so the way to break it then is if we do this, right? Go back. Oh, can we go back from the aiming to the dragging state, I guess is the question. And then break it that way. Aiming state. So once we're going to the aiming state, we go into the released state, and then we can't go back to the dragging state, right? We just go directly to the aiming. So maybe we don't need it there. So right now, when we... Okay, so right now, card being played is when... So that's separate from which state the card is in. We're just doing the card target selector thing, right? Then in our perfected strike script, we're checking that. and adding the damage bonus to it. And we don't want to check it twice, right, for this and when it's back in the hand. Okay, so if it has a target, it just goes directly to the aiming state. It doesn't stay in the dragging state. So that's only for the cards that you drop onto the card drop area. So, okay, like AoE cards or cards, block cards. And then, okay, so we... So right now we're only doing this for the exiting the... maybe we just need to do it when we enter the base state. Maybe that's the better way. Yeah, let's do that, right? When we enter the card base state, is that... Because this is specific to single target cards now, right? Or do we just want to do it anytime we stop card aiming ended or card aiming drag? No, I think we want to do it for dragging too, just for AoE cards, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter for Perfected Strike, because Perfected Strike doesn't stay in... Yeah, so we do want this here, though. Yeah, just yeah, for future cards. Okay. All right, so yeah, let's do that. And then in the comment, we go into the... where did we put that comment? Yeah. Oh no, we don't want to do it for... Because where we go from dragging to aiming, right? That's not where we... No. Because we go from dragging to aiming. Yeah. No, this isn't... That's not right. Yeah. Target selector. No, so... So it's basically just when we want to re-enter the base case, right? Like, for the non-single target, I guess is... So that's kind of this, right? When if we're canceling. Yeah. So if we cancel the card dragging, then... Transition requested. Time elapsed. Yeah, so maybe we put it here. Then so the other situation where we're canceling... is that when we're exiting the aiming state, right? So that's when we're canceling it, or we just... Or we played the card, is that... So when we play the perfected strike, though, we need to make sure that the card being played is... Okay, so yeah, so we don't do it in the exit. We need to do it in the... Yeah, because if we do it like this, if we play the perfected strike, it doesn't do the right amount of damage, right? Because we're going to not count... Wait, are we? So 18, is that... No, that's correct. So what's going on here? So when we go into the released state, right? Let's open up that. Hold on. Release state. So that's when we play the card, right? Yeah. So why is that working then? So if we're going into, if we're exiting and we're saying card being played is null, why is the perfected strike doing the correct amount of damage if we're... The damage is supposed to be 18, right? 6, 12. But here, didn't we mess up here? So no perfected strike where... Oh, we still have the bad logic there because we did do this card being played. Okay. Because this is with the enemy modifier. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's not good. Okay, so let's not do that. Let's... Because we're the card being played here, right? Like, this card is card global.card being played, right? But we don't actually want to do that. That's not good. That might mess up future cards. Okay, so let's... So we only want to set card being played to null when we're canceling it, right? So when we're canceling the aiming or dragging, we do that. And then so in the perfected strike, we actually want to just do, you know... Well, I mean, we know it's going to be... I mean, but this is basically the equivalent of, you know, if global card being put, yeah. So, I mean, we can leave that there, but, you know, we still want to move the other thing to, yeah. So this is, yeah. So this is basically the same thing as if we had this thing here, right? You know, like this is the equivalent to, you know. We just don't check because we know that when we're playing the card, you know, it's this, right? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So, yeah, we might need to rethink this at some point, but, you know, this is fine for now, right? Okay. But we do want to, only set this to null when we're canceling the... Well, we also want to do it after we play the card, right? But... So what's the best way to do that? So after the card is played, right? Like... So if the card is... Or maybe we do just want it to be null while the card effects are going on. because we already played the card. Yeah, so maybe that's fine. So this will make it so that card being, it is null while text is being updated, like for modifier changes caused by the card being, by the card being played, right? Yeah, so do we want the card being played to be null while we're updating the card text for all the other cards in hand, I guess is the question. So let's say setup strike, we're giving ourselves strength, right? In that case, it doesn't really matter, right? It only really matters because perfected strike, the damage changes based on that card, right? Like, so it's cards that depend on other cards. So most of the cases, it doesn't matter probably, right? But yeah, this is for perfected strike. Yeah, this is a little bit hairy, right? So if there's a perfected strike in hand, right, and then you play a setup strike. So the perfected strike script currently does. But no, we do need to. We do need to count that though, right? No, so wait, what? State. Yeah, so why? Let's test that again. Okay, so perfected strike, we need this to update the strength and then still count the setup strike, right? Because right now we've got, let's say we have 10 strikes, right? So the damage is 22. Wait, 26? 10 strikes. 20, yeah, 26 damage, right? So when we play this, we need it to be 28 damage, right? So the setup strike needs to still be counted. Yeah, that's not right, right? We need to count the card that's being played. Okay, so we have to count the card that's being played. So let's. So where are we currently setting this? So when we target something, right, that's. So right now this isn't going to work for like... No, that should be fine. We've got a card drop area for... Yeah, so why were we setting this to null to begin with? Is because we didn't want the tooltip to get messed up, right? Like when we were canceling. Yeah, so we can't have this here. So do we want it to be null when we're canceling? So if we drag a perfected strike, right, and then we cancel that, we need it to be null. We either need it to be back in hand or to be null when we are... Or no. Okay, so we're dragging a perfected strike, right? That's the card being played, and then... So it needs to either be back in hand or still be counted for perfected strike, right? When we're... Oh, right now we don't even have this here. Yeah, because right now we're... Okay, so right now we're doing it when we target something, and then... So that's fine. We don't need it here, right? Like... So, okay, so when we drag a perfected strike and then cancel, right? We need to still count it. When we're updating the card text. Or we need it to be back in the hand so it can... Because right now when we enter the base state, right, where... So we reparent it first and then we... Okay, so right now we are putting it back in hand when we're... Okay, so... By hand, I mean the UI scene, right? Okay, so that's fine. So that should work, right? Okay, so right now we have 28 because we took the ultimate strike. And then when we're putting it back in hand, that doesn't get messed up, right? It doesn't get messed up. Oh no, it does get messed up when we target and then put it back in hand. Okay, so that's a problem, right? So when we put the card back in hand, that's when we need to make it... Okay, but this is when we're entering the base state, right? That's not only when we're... So is this the only place where we're... Is the cancel case the only case where we enter the base state where we're saying... Okay, so what are the bad parts if we say global.card being played equals null here, right? What could there be a problem? So what other places do we enter the card base state? So that's by default, right? That's when we... Because this is for each card, right? That okay, when it enters the base state... No, yeah, we don't want to do that, right? Yeah, that's not right. We need to... It's only when we cancel. Okay, so when we're entering the card base state, upgrading the card... Yeah, this isn't... Okay, so when we're dragging Perfected Strike onto a target, right? We're setting card being played... And then so when we cancel, we need to set it to null, right? Like... So... Because we can't have it in the... Counting it in the hand and as the card being played, right? Unless we do a comparison. We could also just do a check, right? Just to see if, wow, if the card being played is not equal to the one in hand or something like that. So let's see. So this is for Perfected Strike, right? Uh, but when we cancel and go back to the hand, we need to not count, we need to... And so this is when, before we play it, when we're targeting, right? Yeah. So this is like being dragged, aimed, So when we're aiming the Perfected Strike, is that going to mess up then if we're not counting ourselves? So if I drag the Perfected Strike before I go into the card drop area, right? If I just... No, it's fine here, right? Why is that? So while it's being dragged, the tooltip looks fine, right? Is it because we're not updating it? Yeah, because we're not updating it while we're dragging it, right? So it's messed up, but we're not actually updating the tooltip until we target the thing, and then when we target the thing, we're setting the card being played here, right? So basically, it's just the cancel case. Like when we cancel, we need to not double count for the card being played, right? And then the card when it's reparented to the hand. Okay, so I guess in the aiming state, when we cancel, we do need to set it to null, right? Like this. And then, so do we also need to do that for the dragging state for the AoE cards in the future? Like maybe we do, right? Because if we drag something like a strike or something, then even though because we're not... Well, the text that's being updated is only for the card being dragged, right? But it's probably still a good idea to have this here. Okay, so yeah, that should fix that, right? So okay, so now I think we should be good. Yeah, this is another fail episode. Like we just got bogged down on too many bugs, right? Why did this perfected strike get up? Oh, because we took whetstone. Oh, we got whetstone from the small caps. Okay, that was almost getting triggered there because I thought we had another bug, but no, that's fine. Okay, so now when we drag this, right? Yeah, it's okay. So I think that's basically where we need to be, right? We're not messing up perfected strike tooltips anywhere. And then when we do this, that does update. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, we just need to make sure we keep good notes, right? Like, for perfected strike, right? Don't double count the card being played. And the perfected strike after it is reparented to hand, right? Boy, so this is a lot more complicated than because of maybe this is our problem with our spaghetti code, I guess, right? Boy, yeah, this is pretty, what a disaster. And so when we're actually playing it, we're just kind of hard coding it as, yeah, we're the card being played, right? Even though card being played is, no, card being played is set there, right? It's just that. Yeah, and then we don't. So we're not setting card being played to null after we play a card, are we? Or are we? No, we are, because when we go in to update the stuff after we gain the strength, right? Is that? No, that's only when we got the player modifier change, though, right? Like. Right. So we. Wait, okay, so player modifier change. So when we're getting the strength. So that's updating the card text there, right? Okay, so separate from that, we've got card being played, and we're not setting it to null after we play the card, right? But we're just expecting the next card to overwrite it. Is that so? Is that a problem? Because that. Oh, right here, right here. Okay, so no. No. Okay, so. Yeah, because we want to make sure that the card is still counted, right? When we update the card text while it's being played, and then we gain the strength from setup strike. So yeah, that's why we don't do this, right? So right now we're not actually resetting this after we play a card, right? So maybe we should do that too, just in case that causes some sort of problem. So yeah, where are we calling the apply effects? No, this is a potion code. So this is play, and then we, okay. So then when the card plate is emitted, right? And so maybe we just need to set it here, like after apply effects, right? Just in case. I mean, right now nothing, bad's going to happen, but maybe in the future. So we're gonna do this here after the card is done being played, right? Just to clean that up, in case that's somehow relevant in the future, right? Okay, so right now, where's everywhere that we're setting here? So after we play the card, right? Because the strength gain from setup strike will happen before here, right? Because yeah. And then so we set it when we target, and then when we're canceling, we're doing it there, right? And then not in the exit function. It's like when we cancel. Yeah. Okay. So let's just check that real quick, making sure that when we set the card being played to null after we apply the card effects, that doesn't break anything, right? Okay. 26. Okay, so this is 26. If we cancel, it's still 26, right? Okay, so let's make sure the setup strike works with perfected strike, right? Okay, so this should go up to 28. Yeah, okay. So I think we're okay now. Okay. We're just making sure that we really thought through what we're doing, got all our bases covered, right? Okay. Yeah, so this is another disaster episode, but hopefully next time when we add the shrinker beetle, we don't have so many problems, right? But yeah. But we finally got to where we wanted to be in this episode, like a couple hours late probably, but yeah, we got there. Okay. All right, until next time.